Hey guys, in this video we are live with the works by Shakespeare, and these are characters by Shakespeare. So let's go ahead. Let's see. The first work is it was Coriolanus, and protagonist was Coriolanus. Antagonist was Ophidius. Uh, Here you will find most of the protagonist and antagonist, and we will be talking about these because these are asked in several exams. बहुत सारे exams में पूछा जाता है. So let's go ahead and let's see the all protagonist. So protagonist was Coriolanus and antagonist was Ophidius. And here you can see, by the way, there is a new movie coming sometimes. It was Rolf Finnegan. It's English movie, Hollywood movie. And Theseus Andronicus. Protagonist was Theseus Andronicus. Antagonist was Aaron the Moor plus possibly Tamora, Queen of Goths. Romeo and Juliet. There is argument about it. Protagonist was Romeo or Juliet, or Romeo and Juliet together. There is always an argument about this thing. Antagonist was Tybalt, Montague or Capulet. Montague and Capulet, the friar and the community. Again, the same thing. There was argument about this, so you can see here lots of arguments are there. Okay. Here again, the next one is Macbeth, my favorite. It is the Cassibus tragedy, so note that. And the antagonist is not a villain, so you can see here protagonist is Macbeth and antagonist is Macduff or Macklem. Both can be considered as antagonist. Hamlet, protagonist was Hamlet, antagonist was Claudius. King Lear. This play is very complex because the tragedy functions on several parallel levels. There are parallel levels. King Lear. In King Lear, protagonist was King Lear. You can call him protagonist of the work. Antagonist was Edmund, but note that Edmund functions principally as antagonist. The subplot where Gloucester is the protagonist. So here is a subplot. That's why we can call him protagonist. On the another level, one could argue that Cordelia functions as protagonist with Lear antagonist. And Othello, protagonist was Othello and antagonist is Iago, clearly. Antony and Cleopatra. Protagonist was Antony and Cleopatra, both can be considered as protagonist. Antagonist Octavius. So those all are tragedies. So next plays anomaly in Shakespeare's canon, because one of the plot counters said to be tragedy while other is comedy. So let's go ahead. Here we have Merchant of Venice. Nevertheless, in the Shylock plot, in Merchant of Venice, in Shylock plot, if we consider to be it to be a tragedy, then this is what we end up with. Here protagonist is Shylock and antagonist is Antonio. So it is asked in several exams and people are confused. If we consider this plot to be tragic comedy in itself, a tragic comedy that ends happily, because it does fit the paradigm of the tragic comedy is better than the overall play itself, then the rubric looks different. Okay, protagonist becomes Antonio and antagonist becomes Shylock. Now it is quite interesting, isn't it? The Tempest. Here you can see protagonist is Prospero, antagonist is Antonio. And here is the note we can mention. Yet the beauty of the play is that Prospero learns that it is finally only he himself that he struggles against. He is his own antagonist. Once he learns this, the tragedy is averted. The Winter's Tale, protagonist was Leonid's antagonist. Here it's quite difficult to determine. You can read these things. You can pause video later. Now next one is Pericles, Prince of Tyre. Protagonist is Pericles, antagonist is Cleon and Dionysia. Cymbeline, protagonist Polsimus and antagonist Lachimo. But it ends happily with the destruction of the antagonist and the restoration of the protagonist. Here is consider Shakespeare's problem plays. Now let's talk about them. Troilus and Cressida, Measure for Measure, also that ends well. So these much I have for you today. Hopefully you like this. And characters of Shakespeare. Okay, we have completed most of the works, but in another pages, because I just lost the other pages, so I cannot provide this. But surely in next one I will be doing that. So hopefully you liked it. Let's finish it. It was trial for Do You Record a Live, and hopefully it worked well.